Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. This week we'll take you to some of the parks in town and an excerpt of Real Estate Quarterly. Mike Opeleski, Director of Public Works, talks with Peggy Ballister-Howells about recycling grass clippings. And we'll take you to the Recreation Department's Camp Talent Show and also to the last production of the Children's Summer Theater. All of this and more is coming up, including your pet doctor. This week, Dolly Vasta and Dr. Brian Johnson talk about how to select a kitten. We'll also have a Teen Library Connection movie review and our regular council review. But first, here's a look at the Channel 8 program schedule for the week of August 17th. On Monday morning at 10, join Lenore Kulik for a workout with seniors on Look Great, Feel Great. On Wednesday at 2:30 and 7, Lenore shows how to rev up your metabolism. Monday at 10:30, it's Stories from the Library featuring stories about outer space. Tuesday evening, Paul Hansen discusses estate planning on You and Your Money at 7:30. At 8 o'clock Tuesday evening, Judith Lebline shows East Brunswick how to exercise the right choice. Spotlight on Education comes your way Wednesday evening at 7:30. This week, a special one-hour program on the excellence in arts is the topic. 18 will be shown at 8:30 and features the Peer Leadership Program and students at the East Brunswick Vo-Tech High School. This Week in East Brunswick returns Thursday at 7 and 8 o'clock, and Aging Aspects with host Patty Sullivan shows Thursday night at 7:30.
When mowing the lawn, most people bag the clippings and put them out to be picked up by the township. Peggy Ballister-Howells spoke to the Director of Public Works, Mike Opeleski, about the cost of doing this and about a different way of recycling grass clippings.
Hi, we're here at the Public Works Center with Michael Opeleski, Director of Public Works, and we're going to talk about how the town of East Brunswick handles their grass clippings. Mike,
yes.
What are you doing with them all?
Well, right now we're collecting them. What we would like to do is we would have our residents clip and leave, but since they're not clipping and leaving, and they're leaving the grass at the curbside, we have to collect it, and that's a problem with us.
So where is it going?
Well, right now we have a program through our hauler where it's being collected and it's being hauled to Pennsylvania for reclamation on strip mining and in farms.
So it's being tilled in other words?
Yes, it is. It's being recycled. That's what we're hoping.
So at least it's not going to Edgeboro landfill at the moment,
That's correct. We're trying to remove as much solid waste material or recyclable material from the solid waste stream and save the space in Edgeboro for other materials which cannot be recycled.
So if it was going to Edgeboro, how much would it be costing the town on an annual basis?
Annual basis about $160,000.
That's just for grass clipping?
Just for grass.
And that's collected 8 months out of the year, maybe?
8 months out of the year, yeah.
And it's $160,000.
$160,000.
Okay, so how much does it cost to take it all the way out to Pennsylvania? You got to get in the truck, you got to load it, you got to take it out of the vehicles that are on the road and pick it in a big truck and then drive it out there. So that has to cost a lot of money too. What's it cost to do that?
That's about $110,000.
So you're actually saving money by shipping it all the way to Pennsylvania?
Yes, because it's a recyclable. That's what we're trying to impose upon people, is that we can take recyclables out of the solid waste stream, we can save money.
Okay, so now we get to the fact that it would cost $160,000 to put it into Edgeboro.
Yes.
It costs $110,000 to
take
send
it to
Pennsylvania. Now, if you didn't have to pick it up at all, how much would it cost?
Zero. And that's the magic thing, what we're trying to do. If you can clip it and leave it, I can take $160,000 out of a budget.
So if you clip it and leave it, or use it as a mulch, or compost it in the backyard and never put it on the curb,
that's correct.
it'll save the town as much as $160,000.
That's correct.
That's a lot of money. Thanks for joining us.
All righty, thank you.
In September, Stuart Davis begins the third season of Real Estate Quarterly with a look at one of the township's biggest assets. It's the Department of Recreation, Parks, and Community Services. The director of the department, Judith Lebline, and her assistant, Tom Williams, joined Stuart in the studio.
Well, there's the recreation aspect of any park system. As you mentioned in the introduction, we're Department of Recreation, Parks, and Community Services, and that's just not parks and shade tree. That involves recreation, handicapped recreation programs, the famous DAISY program, our Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Alliance. There's a great myriad of activities that come from the parks. In particular, Bicentennial is very active. That's the home of the DAISY program, and we're currently building a new totally accessible building there. They were operating out of an old field house, carriage house, and they've been there. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary. But in this year, it's kind of poetic that we'll be dedicating this brand new building that is fully accessible for the children. That's in Bicentennial Park. A great deal of activity happens there. Programming activity happens at Community Park on Dunham's Corner Road. There's a nature center there, and also our community beach, which is lovely and is one of the only kind here in Middlesex County. And we're very proud of that facility. We do everything we can to make it as attractive and entertaining as possible. We are at a shortage of actual room space to run our programs. Each one of our programs sells out very quickly. I mean, it's a blessing. It's a problem that most recreation directors would want to have, but at the same time we have people on waiting lists that are clamoring to get in. And we use the school system for our actual programming. We use our nature center. We'll be using the DAISY Center for expanding our handicapped programs. But we are at a shortage of space for activity, indoor activities.
What are some of the assets? You mentioned the DAISY program going up. Could you talk a little bit more extensively about that, the size of the facility, what went into getting it off the ground, and what you hope, what else is happening in terms of improvements, additional assets to the program that we'll see in the future?
Well, I could talk about how it came to fruition. It started several years ago as a small addition to the carriage house. The building itself is very old, and what we found is that it was almost impossible to put a functional addition on there. So a group of parents became a committee, also staff, and we worked on what the needs would be in that building. And the township was able to secure community development block grant money to expand on that project to where we're at now. Tom is supervising that construction. He could talk a little bit more about the building, but it was functionally designed with the architect, Jerome Grushkin, out of Staten Island, to meet the specific needs of the challenged children and adults in our programming. Both DAISY and Friday Night Live will use that. And Tom could tell you a little bit more about the building. It's beautiful.
The building itself is about 3,400 square feet, which includes a large multi-purpose type room with room dividers that can be divided up into 3 areas: a kitchen, locker areas, a vestibule, and locker type area for the children to put their belongings, lunch boxes, and that kind of thing in, restroom facilities that are all handicapped accessible. And the new building is connected to the old existing building by an enclosed walkway. So it really takes advantage of the site and gives them a lot more space to use.
The participants can move from one section of the building to the other without ever getting wet anymore. They used to have to go from one building to a garage, and so now it's much safer and certainly beautiful. And there's been a big community effort behind that building, and that should be officially dedicated this fall.
Right. I know that's a very active, very good program that the township offers, and it's good that they have a better facility to work in. I did some
They can do so much more. It's getting more and more difficult. And I think, you know, in mentioning DAISY, that's our biggest challenge in the next couple of years as a park system, is to meet the federal guidelines of the Americans with Disabilities Act. There are going to, even though we're a relatively young park system compared to some of the neighboring communities, we are going to be challenged with the responsibility of making them all truly handicapped accessible. And even though, for example, Bicentennial Park, dedicated in '76, and Diedrichson Park, dedicated much later, although they're handicapped accessible, the new guidelines are so much more strict that we're right now doing an audit of each of our facilities to make sure that they will be truly accessible. And that's probably going to be our bigger challenge than acquiring any new property or developing any new property, because federal regulations do require that. And we're finding that even our newest facilities are a little behind.
Can you give a specific example of?
For example, we don't have any handicapped accessible playground equipment in the park system.
Interesting.
We were recently involved in the installation of a piece at Warrensdorfer School, but that's the only one in town that's truly handicap
accessible. And I
accessible.
think that's been a real education for the community to realize that a child in a wheelchair or a walker right now will have a very difficult time in any of our parks, but it's our goal to meet those guidelines. We've also been concentrating on the preschooler. Some of the early predictions with the townhouse development in town was that this would be a community of yuppies, usually without a child, or what do they call them, dinks, double income, right. No kids. Surprise, surprise, with the economy changing, townhouses have 2 and 3 kids in them, and all preschoolers. There's a lot of baby carriages, right. Another baby boom, and we're finding that where we may be coming up slightly short is in the smaller playground equipment for the little feet and the little hands. Right. So it's been our goal, one at a time, to try to get preschool equipment in each one of our playgrounds, so that it's a little bit easier on mom and dad that are watching the tiny one, so that they can play along with their siblings. So right. These are some things that people don't think about that we have to deal with all the time.
Right. In the last few years, we put some preschool equipment now at the Community Beach, Pine Ridge Park, and in Country Lane Park to address that.
Oh, and the people just
get
love
quite a few calls on that.
I don't think.
For more information about what's new in the parks, watch Real Estate Quarterly in September.
Hi, welcome back once again to Your Pet Doctor. I'm Dolly Vasta, and I'm with my co-host, Dr. Brian Johnson from the Cranberry Veterinarian Hospital, and we're going to be talking today about picking out a kitten, and we certainly have an adorable one. Is that a male or female?
This is a little girl, and it's a Himalayan, which is one of the types of cats that we have. This happens to be a purebred, but it really makes very little difference whether you have a purebred or an All-American. Out of my 4 cats, 2 came right off the street, and they're tiger-striped All-American cats.
Yes, I've seen them. Well, okay, we talked the last time about dogs, of course, and picking out a puppy. Does the same apply to a kitten? Now, there's a whole different set of characteristics here and a whole different way of life when you own a kitten.
Well, this is one of the quieter kittens, quieter types, believe it or not. The Siamese, if you like that, is the clown of the cat world. They're all crazy. You have to be a little bit crazy to have one. I have one.
That speaks for itself.
That speaks for itself. They're live wires. The Persians are very quiet. The All-Americans have the whole host of personalities, and they're wonderful. And the only thing nicer that I've found than a pussycat is 2 pussycats at one time, because they keep each other company. They get into less mischief. They play with each other, and it's true. I always try to get them in pairs when I've gotten cats. It makes very little difference whether you have an All-American or whether you have a purebred. I always recommend that you get them when they're young. Of course, if you feed them well, they don't eat your fingers. But if you get them when they're young, let them develop their personality in conjunction with yours, and they will give you 15 years of very enjoyable life.
I would find that a very frightening thought.
What's that?
Oh, you know, applying their personality to yours. Not yours, but to mine if I had.
Any animal you have grows up just like your child as a reflection to some degree of your personality. Many things you can tell about an individual from their animals. Scary.
Yes.
But it's true.
Do animals really look like their masters, in other words?
We have a few of them that do, but if I start mentioning them now, I'll lose a bunch of clients.
You'll be in real trouble. All right, now you've got a kitten and you think you like it. What do you look for as far as signs of health?
No discharge from the nose. Nice active kitten, as you see this one jumping around, biting my finger. This is what you're looking for. Not one that sleeps, lays in the corner, is totally inactive. One that's well fleshed. You can't see on this because he's all fuzzy, but if you feel here, the ribs are not sticking out. Look for any evidence of having diarrhea, vomiting, things of this nature. If you get a cat that's nice and healthy, active like this, then you're in pretty good shape. And again, once you get them, bring them to your veterinarian right away, whoever he may or she may be. Get them checked out. If there's worms or ear mites, get them taken care of right away and start on your inoculations.
And once again, the many different pounds.
They're just overrunning with them right now. Yes, the pounds can get you a nice little cat. You can look in the newspapers. If you're looking for a specific type, there are many places. Look in the newspaper, they're loaded, and there's many catteries around where they'll sell any specific type. If you just like the All-Americans, and I love the All-Americans, a neighbor, a friend, the springtime is coming. It's the breeding season for our little guys. There'll be plenty available. But keep them in the house. Don't let them run free with this rabies problem that we're having.
Well, that's another whole subject in itself, but they really should be neutered?
Absolutely have them neutered. It makes a much nicer pet with less problems and less cost to you in the long run. The life of the neutered pet is usually 1 to 3 years longer than your non-neutered pet. So whether it's a male or female, by all means, get them altered.
And let's face it, if you're not going to breed an animal, why bring so many kittens into the world?
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason not to have him neutered. It's better for you, it's actually healthier for your cat or dog, and in the long run, you both will be happier.
And on that note, we're going to take off until next week, and we have a surprise for you next week because we have a cockatoo. Cockatiel?
Cockatoo.
Cockatoo, okay. Take care.
Hi, my name is Gina Briscese, and the movie I am going to review is The Naked Gun. In this movie, a policeman, played by Leslie Nielsen, tries to find out who attempted to murder his friend. This movie was one of the funniest I've ever seen. Leslie Nielsen is a terrific actor and makes the situations very believable. The movie is rated PG-13, and you can rent it along with its sequel, The Naked Gun 2.5, at the library.
At Monday evening's Township Council action meeting, Mayor Ira Oskowski read a proclamation honoring the East Brunswick Public Library.
Whereas the New Jersey State Library awarded the contract to provide its statewide toll-free reference service to the East Brunswick Public Library, and whereas to introduce the residents of the state to this innovative new service, which brings them increased access to information, library staff members Sharon Thomason and Cheryl McBride and Pat Irons developed a creative and effective promotional campaign. And whereas this program, to introduce a new service, New Jersey Nightline, was recognized nationally with 2 major awards, a John Cotton Daner Library Public Relations Award and a Library Public Relations Council First Prize for logo design, which were presented at the American Library Association Annual Conference. Now, therefore, we proclaim that I, Ira Oskowski, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, do hereby commend Library Director Sharon Thomason, Cheryl McBride, Project Manager, Pat Irons, Administrative Assistant, and the New Jersey Nightline staff upon the receipt of these awards and for their efforts in implementing an innovative new service to benefit the people of East Brunswick and the state of New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The council also heard lengthy discussion about the pros and cons of approving a person-to-person, place-to-place transfer of a liquor license, which would enable a liquor store to open up in a new shopping mall near Lexington Village.
I'm familiar with alcohol. My grandfather owned a bar, and I work on the other side of the industry. I run rehabs, and particularly in rehab in the Bowery section of New York. 1 in 10 Americans is alcoholic or drinks alcoholically. 1 in 4, believe it or not, high number, is affected by an alcoholic in their family. You know, this becomes an issue of some anger at how it was handled. I think it was snuck through. This shopping center was handled last minute, always during the summers with postponements, in order that I believe that the homeowners association could not respond appropriately. And this is clearly a breach of faith between the verbal agreements that were reached on this issue. My house is 24 Mars, the closest house to the shopping center. I have a 4-year-old son and a 1-year-old son. People that drink alcohol are not necessarily all alcoholics, and yet at the same time, alcoholics have to find alcohol, and it will attract an element that is, in my opinion, undesirable and inappropriate to a community residence area.
This is to inform you of my strenuous objection to the approval of an application to transfer a liquor license to the Levy Shopping Center on Lexington Avenue and Cranberry Road. I believe there is a strong community sentiment in Lexington Village to deny this application. This is essentially a residential area. This shopping center is only commercial use in the vicinity. There are many prime locations for a liquor store on Route 18.
The council voted unanimously to deny the liquor license transfer. Later in the meeting, the council passed a resolution urging store or cable company to refrain from increasing rates in the township this year.
Summer camps are a good way for kids to spend the summer and meet new friends. And at the Recreation Department's camp at Churchill School last week, the kids gathered together to showcase their talents during a talent show.
It was formally decided yesterday that all adults are banned from voting in November's presidential election. The polls are only open to children under the age of 18. The candidates this fall are Diane Abramowitz, George Bush, and Bill Clinton. The polls show that Diane is leading the race with 75% of the votes. Diane is for lowering state taxes and preserving the environment.
Some other hot summer talent was taking place over at the high school during the last performance of the Children's Summer Theater in the production of Peter Pan Meets the Evil Wizard.
food every day. So let it come.